Chris scanned the dining area of the Oriental Hotel, taking in the sight of opulence around him. The hall was brimming with people, party members, big sponsors, and backers, each one cloaked in the unmistakable air of wealth and influence. The banquet hummed with energy, laughter, and clinking glasses. Yet beneath the surface, Chris knew the gathering wasn't merely celebratory. It was a meeting of the power brokers. These were the real players, investors whose wealth wasn't tied to businesses or industries, but to the guaranteed returns of government patronage. Chief Ndu-Aye swirled his drink before finishing it in a gulp. He leaned toward Chris, his voice low yet commanding. "Look at these people," he began, gesturing with his glass to the room. "Multi-millionaires, billionaires, fleets of cars, mansions. But tell me, what industries do they run? What innovations have they brought? None. How did they make their money? Could you see in this country any industries or businesses they have built or ran? Have they built Amazon, Facebook, Microsoft, or Google that we are not aware of? These people not only invested, but they invested heavily and wisely too. In the people in government. They invested in the power blocks. Once they did that, the returns were fantastically huge. The returns were guaranteed. It was not only in terms of money, but also the power they had over their minions. That was enormous. It was gilded security." Chris furrowed his brow, listening intently. Chief Ndu-Aye smirked, leaning in further. "Their wealth comes from here." He tapped the table for emphasis. "They invested in power, real power. And now, Chris, so have you. It's time to make it work for you." Chris nodded, trying to mask his excitement. "What do I need to do, Chief?" Chief Ndu-Aye's tone shifted to a conspiratorial whisper. "You need backers at the center, Chris. Everything flows from Abuja. That's where the real game is played." Chris's eyes widened. "So, you mean I need more connections beyond the governor?" The chief nodded, his gaze flickering toward a woman at the next table. Her elaborate hairdo made her impossible to ignore. Lowering his voice, he gestured for Chris to come closer. "You need to meet Mrs. Igala," he murmured. "She's the key. If you want to go far, you start with her. Visit Abuja. The work begins now." Chris felt the weight of the advice sink in. The path was clear, but it was one that required calculated moves and unwavering loyalty. As the conversation drew to a close, Chief Ndu-Aye smiled knowingly, his voice taking on a tone of assurance. "Chris, this is your moment. Play your cards right, and your bullion van cometh." The words lingered in Chris's mind. The bullion van wasn't just a metaphor for wealth. It was a symbol of power, influence, and security. It was what every politician craved, what got them out of bed in the morning. For the first time that evening, Chris allowed himself a small smile. He was in the game now, and the stakes were higher than ever. Later that evening, as the banquet wound down, Chris found himself standing near the large windows of the hotel, staring at the city lights. The noise of the party faded behind him, replaced by the hum of his thoughts. Chief Ndu-Aye's words echoed in his mind. The road ahead was clear, but it came with compromises. Could he navigate the murky waters of politics without losing himself? Or was this simply the price of admission? Chris exhaled, his breath fogging the glass. He knew one thing. There was no turning back now.